I was in court. I'm Scottish. It's Friday. I was in court.
Yeah, of course. How silly of me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Digital Download. I think we're going to talk about Facebook today, but let's do the introductions. We've had two people who said that they can't come. Apologies from Lenwood and Mike. We send them our regards. Brandon, do you want to go first? Because it's easier for me just to follow around.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I'm Brandon Lee. I am the founder of Funnel Amplified, and I love spending Friday mornings and actually most days with these guys on the call on the Zoom here. Restream, StreamYard, whatever it is. It's Friday. I'm going to drink more coffee.
It's a bit of tech.
Yeah.
Your picture's frozen, Brandon. For me, it has anyway.
It's gone for me.
Right.
I just saw that. Well, actually, I'm just sitting very still at the moment.
It looks more like you've just turned all the lights off.
Yeah.
Well,
Thomas, do you want to go next?
Certainly. Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Thomas Ross. I'm one of the founders of Social Selling HQ and a very proud and busy member of DLA Ignite Global.
Are you back, Brandon? Thanks.
I think so.
Yeah.
Sorry, Thomas. Yep.
And say hello to Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric. I run Crux. We're partnered with DLA Ignite, based here in Scotland, with associates across the globe. Well, as far away as Eastbourne.
Well, that's the other ends of the earth, isn't it?
I love it.
As far away as Eastbourne.
And Adam in yellow.
Indeed, in Cyberhawk yellow. So I have to thank the big live breakfast burrito for that, because one of Eric's clients. Yeah, one of Eric's clients was.
Are you cold?
No, not wearing this. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm Tim's business partner and co-founder of DLA Ignite.
So there was a request to talk about Facebook. Does anyone want to explain what the situation with Facebook is?
Well, I think the word from Facebook was that all the debacle of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, what else fell down? What else?
Right.
Their word
fell down as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
StreamYard fell down as well at the same time.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, because Adam and I were trying to do a restream, and they said they couldn't.
How weird is that to see where the tentacles run out? So the word on the street from Facebook is that it was a faulty configuration change on one of its routers that believed to be at the center of the global outage.
That's routers for
routers.
Yeah.
Routers.
That's what we use for cutting channels in bits of wood, isn't it? A router.
It is a router. But the thing is, I worked with American companies for years, and when I was in Houston, I would say router all the time. And when I bring that home, people would look at me like I was some sort of affected, like shaking their heads when I said, "Does anyone tell me where the router is?" And people were like, "Get out! It's a router. It's a router."
Those Americans don't know how to talk.
There's also the situation, isn't there, with the Facebook whistleblower?
Yeah.
I wonder if the two were connected. I mean, clearly, if this was somebody had uploaded
with a big cable.
Yeah, well, there's someone cut through it. That was the problem. I'm sure we could work it out. How much advertising revenue Facebook lost for the 7 hours that they were down because somebody hadn't checked their code before pressing upload and save. I imagine that person probably isn't on the Facebook payroll anymore.
Francis Haugen claims that Facebook or that social media giant has lost its civic integrity. It's actually harmful to kids and harmful to persons' data.
So, according to MarketWatch, the outage cost the company $164,000 a minute in revenue. The stock declined by 40 billion in market cap. Mark Zuckerberg lost 6 billion roughly. I think he actually lost after that was, I think it was more like 7 or 8 billion.
But he found 10. He found 10 in a box in the basement, so it's all good.
Around the back of the sofa.
Oh man.
So you can imagine the router company ringing them up, or router company ringing them up, saying, if you double the number of routers that you buy twice the number of hardware, and you buy a disaster recovery, a DR site.
So I guess all this from a very practical perspective. I mean, just really bringing it down to brass tacks, really personally, that period of time when everything was down, again, made us look after the 2 p.m. run over with investors. Nice to see you. Is that Alistair Dickinson?
Alistair, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic on the island. That period of time, I realised for the first time how dependent my sort of daily communication with family, friends, and colleagues was on WhatsApp, and I realised that I'm using WhatsApp like breathing. It's that constant throughout the day. It's that. And I would, if you'd said to me which apps and which social media apps and which blah 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 do you use most, I don't think I would have put WhatsApp quite as high up on the list. It would have been on the list, but it's top. It's top.
So you were like sending Snapchats to your children,
kids, yeah, because I've realised that the way I communicate with my kids, because they're all over the place, is on WhatsApp, and I was like, well, let's go to Facebook Messenger. Nope, can't do that. How are we gonna do this? I might actually have to telephone them. Yuck. So we were Snapchatting.
So I actually found I have a partner when Facebook down. I hadn't realised it, and I got talking to her. She's actually quite nice.
That person that lives in your house.
Hey guys, I got to tell you, I didn't even realize anything was down until, I don't know, 3 o'clock my time. Like and Thomas backed me up on this. In the States, we just don't use WhatsApp nearly as much because everybody's in our country and we can text them and call them as part of our plans. So I use WhatsApp to communicate with a few people in Europe, but I just don't use WhatsApp. But I didn't even log into Facebook or think about logging into Facebook or Instagram that day because I pretty much live in Instagram and I live to freeze on video. Apparently.
Interesting what you say about the country sort of cultures and all that. I've been working in Norway for the last 25 years across the UK and Norway. In Norway, even in business, Snapchatting is huge in Scandinavia. Wow. Massive. They snap each other all the time. There'll be the way that we would use instant messaging from a business perspective. Instant messages
with funny little ears and like sticking out tongue and stuff.
Well, they'll do a bit of that, but they use Snapchat as a communication aid. It's a quick and easy comms aid, and they also like the fact that it leaves no trace.
Yeah. Leaves no trace is a big factor, I would imagine. But is WhatsApp, and I'm just curious, and we can move on. Is WhatsApp primarily because the way mobile accounts work? Like for us, we finally got to a point where I could text Canada and Mexico or call Canada or Mexico without like a major increase in my bill. But your countries are all so close together. Is that why WhatsApp got so popular, or is it something else?
Well, I think if everyone's got an iPhone, you can iMessage people. So that's like WhatsApp. But the challenge comes if the person that you're contacting isn't an iPhone user. So then you have to have a third-party app, because obviously iMessage is purely for iPhone users. So I think that it's more about making it open for people, isn't it?
Mm.
And certainly, I find that actually I do use WhatsApp, but not that much. I tend to use Facebook Messenger for that messaging app. But the reality is I was still in the same boat. And during the day, I tend to live in LinkedIn mostly. Twitter to a lesser extent, but mostly in LinkedIn. So when I get some time off, I tend to go to Facebook and have a bit of a flick through. And Facebook's down. I'll go to Instagram and have a bit of a flick through. And Instagram's down. Oh, right. Okay. Well, I guess I'll go back onto LinkedIn then. So actually, it was just, it makes you realize what a huge void that is. And also, doing a bit of research, obviously Facebook continues to grow, but it's now 2.85 billion active monthly users.
Say that again.
2.85 billion active monthly users on
my
Facebook.
goodness.
Yeah, I've got to say my experience was pretty much the same as yours, Adam. I use Messenger a lot. I do use WhatsApp. Probably the next big one for me is WhatsApp. So between the two of them, I knew right away that I was in trouble because I wasn't hearing or seeing anything from anybody. So somebody texted me and said, "Go to Telegram," which I wasn't even familiar with. So I went to Telegram, loaded up Telegram, and it immediately crashed because I guess everybody went Telegram. So I think the impact actually rippled out to a few of the other channels, I understand too, in terms of them now being overwhelmed with traffic that they weren't getting before. But it does sort of paint a picture, doesn't it, with respect to people talking and communicating and where they're doing that, right? Because that did put a huge hit on people that are normally communicating over any or all of those channels. And I think that was very interesting.
I think also you in your own mind have these things pegged in terms of their order of invasiveness, don't you? So, if you send someone a LinkedIn message, it can be someone that you've not met. If you send someone a Facebook message or an Instagram message, it's somebody that you probably have met and do know reasonably well. But if you pick up the phone and call somebody, actually, that's much more difficult for people to run away from and do in their own time. So I think people these days are much more resistant to doing that, aren't they? Invariably, when one of your own family phones you, it's not the right time to speak to them. Whereas the nice thing about an instant messaging thing is that you know that it's arrived and they'll respond when they can.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. In fact, I mean, I can probably count on one hand how many actual phone calls I make during the day. Most of my communication is between those apps as well as Zoom, right? Yeah. So I mean, how many phone calls do you actually dial every day? Just out of curiosity.
No, I can't. Tim phoned me about a week ago, didn't you? And said, I thought I'd give you a call because we've not actually spoken on the phone for ages, and it's well over a year since we've spoken on the phone, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if you look at on your phone in terms of the apps you use, the phone will be right at the bottom. I mean, Brandon's not here, but the great thing about WhatsApp, and I don't know about the others, is that you can use it on Wi-Fi, so you don't actually need to have a data service with a company,
a cell provider. Yeah.
But there's been all kinds of things. Viber was popular for a bit, but personally, I use Facebook Messenger.
If I find anything a challenge, it's when somebody's told me that, I sent you this or I sent you that, and I gave you all this information, and I sent you this long message, and you go, holy crap, where did they send it? Right? Yeah. You've got 6 or 7 different services that you're using. It's not there. It's not theirs. Oh, there it is. So
I remember seeing a note from Tim yesterday, and I quickly looked at it while I was talking to my wife, and I put my phone and said, I'll go back and look for that. And it was like running down the street looking into different builds. I was in. Did he send me it on LinkedIn? No, not there, not in DMs. Did he send me it on Slack? No, it wasn't in Slack. Went through all the Slack channels. Was it that one? Was it that one? Was it that? No. Was it maybe on Twitter? Did he talk to me on Twitter? And I was literally running down this digital building, going into these, looking for this note. And he went, no, mate, I deleted it. It's okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I found something. Yeah, it was late at night. So we got a question from Mike. Do you want to answer it?
Hi chaps, as a marketing strategy, is it a good idea to spread your reach across several networks, or have a strategy for each platform? Oh man, this is like the Holy Grail, isn't it? Who's going to take it? All the tennis rackets have suddenly gone up in the air. I think.
Go ahead, Eric.
That's got Tim Hughes written all over it.
Why didn't you answer it?
Well, this is incredible because as a marketing strategy, is a good idea to spread your. So let me just put that into real practical terms, because the answer is it's a great idea to spread your reach across several networks, but not or. It's and have a strategy for each platform. So it's spreading across. First of all, working out where your prospects are. There's no point in spending a whole heap of time on TikTok because it's cool and trendy and it's growing if your prospects aren't there. So first of all, work out where your prospects are, and then have a definitive strategy for each platform and each place that hooks up to a grandfather strategy, which is your entire strategy for social media. To put this in perspective, we have a client. Speaking to that client the other day. About they can note a point when we started to multi-channel them across. So LinkedIn's fine. You get all these LinkedIn trainers that will teach you how to, use LinkedIn. Terrific. That's great. They'll take your money, you run away, nothing will change, right? Employing that kind of strategic perspective to how you manage social media across the channels where your prospects are. So keep that in mind. So one of the things we did with this particular client was we noted that a lot of their interest should be pointed towards Twitter. So we developed a strategy for Twitter, and we got them using Twitter in a very different way to LinkedIn. So already we've got something really cool happening. We've got meeting lovely people, connecting with lovely people, and having great conversations with people over here at LinkedIn. And we've got this big, massive digital munch machine, which is homing in on hashtags and flushing lots of excellent content around this particular platform and pointing it in a different direction. That particular client, and they won't mind me mentioning this because I'm not saying their name, and this was validated this week, told me that they had a review this week. And since time began, they've had about 6 to 9 unique visitors to their website every month. From the moment, and they took it back because they thought, right, what is this? From the moment we started multi-channeling them across multiple platforms, there was a date that happened. There was a date that happened. From that date, everything started to change for them and the graph has started to go up. And they've got to the point now where for month after month after month, this is now the 4th or 5th month of repeat, that number is now 40.
40 unique people coming to their website rather than, was it 4 or 6?
That's right. So it's 6 to 9. 6 to 9 average. They can now take that back to the day that they started multi-channeling, and it started going from 6 to 9 to 9 to 11, from 11 to 14, and now it's plateaued at around about 40. They haven't done any more advertising. They've stopped any advertising that they did. They've stopped their advocacy campaign. They've stopped all the crap that they did, all the outsourced stuff that they did. Google Ads is gone. Nothing. They're completely social organization. And that multi-channel approach is actually working in ways that they never thought it would. So when we hear people saying, yeah, but this is great for visibility, you need to be able to tie it back to a result. And that's a result that they tie back to their social efforts with a combined marketing strategy across platforms. Sorry, that took so long.
No, but it's probably worth. It's great, but it's probably worth pointing out that they've actually complained that they don't have a problem with pipeline anymore.
Well, they actually do have a bit of a problem with pipeline. They've got too much.
They've got too much. Do you know you've never seen a guru on LinkedIn that says I can help you if you've got too much pipeline? Isn't it true? Just
end this live stream there, because it ain't going to get any better than that quote. Yeah, brilliant.
I would pick up where you what you built on there, Eric, in that, the one great exercise about answering that question, especially when you're working with a client and they ask that question, is that you get to ask them the question, where and what is your customer profile, right? So what does your customer actually look like? And in a lot of cases, I wouldn't say in all cases, but in many cases, they don't always know the answer, or the answer that they give you is so poor and convoluted that you wish they hadn't answered. So that is really the starting point, and you rightly pointed out to that, and good point, Tim. But people need to really understand who their customers are, right? Yeah. And when you know who they are, where they are, and that goes across everything. What industry are they from? What are their demographics? What are their interests? What are their buying signals? What are all the things that make your perfect customer, right? And then when you define that, you overlay that with the platforms they may be present and active on, and you build your strategy around that whole thing. So that sounds simple, but very few people actually take the time to do it. And therein lies the difference between somebody being successful and somebody not being successful.
I think that's really interesting. I had a friend of mine that I used to work with reach out to me, and she said, I've got a business on the side. I'd like you to give me some pointers about how to do this on social. And it's like a sort of facial toner cleanser type thing, which is made from all organic and bio whatever stuff. It looks really lovely.
Selling it really well there.
Yeah, I mean, so I said, so who's going to buy this? He said, well, women and actually men as well. And I said,
that narrows it down.
Therein lies the problem, and I think that everybody in business, everybody in business to a greater or lesser extent does that, don't they? My ideal customer looks like X, but actually I'd be happy with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I as well. This woman, she's an Asian woman. She's very beautiful. She hasn't got a wrinkle on her face at all. She looks 15 years younger than she is. And I said, well, why don't you target Asian women? Because you're kind of, it's a startup, so you haven't got a huge amount of money to spend. So why don't you use yourself as the model and the example of, you look like me if you use this product? And she said, oh yeah, because actually that's quite compelling, isn't it? Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you say that, Thomas, that actually the more you can niche what it is that you're looking for, the more you can optimize how you appear, how you talk, and how you deliver to those clients. And I think that so often in business we say, I want to, this is my ideal customer profile, but I'll work with anybody. And then you work with someone that isn't a good fit for you, and it takes you 3 times as much effort to make them ultimately unhappy. Whereas if you find somebody that's an ideal fit for you, them being happy is just a byproduct of you doing what you would have done anyway.
Love it, love it, love it.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? Is there anything from Alistair mentioned something about a book there. I don't know. It looks like I haven't gone to the
Alistair mentioned a book. I believe there's a book out there somewhere.
It's a cool book.
I'm not sure I'm familiar with it, Tim. Could you just show me what it was, please?
Do you mean this one?
That looks quite good. Actually.
I'm actually rereading it at the moment. I actually think it's pretty good. The chapters I wrote are pretty good, anyway. So Brandon's had to drop out. He's having problems with his PC, I think. So anyway, he's going to the Apple Store.
He's going to buy a Mac.
Yeah.
He's off to buy a Mac.
Everybody ends up buying a Mac. Even me.
Nah.
Eric?
Nah. You're not doing it.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm not doing it. Yeah,
we'll see.
I built a massive gaming computer, which is very powerful. And I've realized that this might be the Betamax. Like when I was a kid, the local shop got these newfangled things in video cassette recorder, VCRs in, right? And you could go and rent them for a while. You could rent them for 6 months to see what you like. And of course, part of that rental deal was a membership to the video club to get tapes. And you were given the choice when you went in. And my dad had heard through his mates at work that Betamax was the way of the future.
It was a much better format.
Much better format.
Yeah. For both of the films that you could rent on it.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre and exactly. The Hills Have Eyes or something like that. So my dad went all in on Betamax when the world changed to VHS. Absolutely. And that's kind of where I feel I am, because I've put everything into Windows, and I've decided that I speak Windows. I don't speak, which is odd because I have an iPad and an iPhone, but I much prefer a PC, a Windows-based PC. I love the Windows world.
Yeah, and in fairness, it does have some really big advantages. For example, you can switch it on, and then you've got time to go and make a cup of tea, haven't you, while it's booting up? Would be one great.
I will record this and race you to my home screen where I'm able to put in my password. I will race you. It's seconds.
Yeah. So my dad went all in with mini disc when everybody went when everybody went to DAT. He basically was told not to do that.
Yeah,
and so I've got his mini disc player and a load of mini discs. But
are you sure it wasn't an Irish person telling him not to get mini discs? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. No. Just checking. Tough crowd.
Yeah. So we
lovely.
We might have wandered off a little bit from the topic.
Yes, a little.
Yeah,
a little. So what does the whole thing about? So Francis Haugen is saying that there's data corruption, there's data being kept on people. We've known for years, for a long time. I mean, you make one search on Amazon for a product, and then all of your Facebook feed and all of your Instagram feed are suddenly suggesting those products and all that insight data for weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Now, strange one. My wife, my son, and I were sitting at home one night, and we're having a chat about something, and all of our phones were on the table. And my son opened up his phone and went, "Oh, be quiet," because his social media feeds were full of adverts for the thing that we'd just been discussing. So my wife opened up her phone.
So I don't know if you know, but when you load up Facebook onto your mobile, it asks for access to Bluetooth. The vast majority of people don't understand it, and they give it access to that. If you give it access to Bluetooth, then you have given it access to voice.
Listen.
This is so people will have given. You will find out if you go to your mobile and see what apps have been given access to Bluetooth. If you have given it access to Facebook, then obviously stop that. But you will find that certain people will say, "Oh, there's this thing going on. Wherever I speak, I get these ads." They will have given Facebook access to their voice. It's a standard feature of Facebook. And people are given people, and it says, "Do you give access to Bluetooth?" And they will have given it.
But I think that giving these platforms access to information about you in order that they can target their ads, personally, I see that as a good thing. You know,
so it's also standard in free games that you get on your mobile, that when nobody reads the terms and conditions, what will happen is that when you get an ad, the app actually takes a photograph of your face for the advertisers, because what they want to do is actually look at what your face is like when you see that ad. Standard function of free ads, games. And it's you basically authorize the app to do that as part of agreeing the user conditions of using it. So
a little sort of biometric scan of your face.
So if you do get a free app, free game, and it shows, it always go like that when it shows a. I mean, so there's a whole load of stuff is that people go that's like this sinister and stuff, but people are actually authorizing use of it and actually signing up to it. And I go, if it's a free game, what do you expect?
But yeah, and I think that anybody that's got half a brain recognizes that if there is no obvious monetization of this, then you are the commodity that's being sold. It's quite a well-known kind of phrase. I think from an advertising perspective, though, you know, to be frank, I'd rather watch adverts for Aston Martins than I would for My Little Pony toys. So at the end of the day, the targeted advertising I see as being a good thing rather than a bad thing. And if my details are being sold to other advertisers, again, I get adverts that are appropriate to me, things that I have expressed some interest in, rather than things that aren't. So I see that as, and I see that as being a good thing. But I think that the bigger issue that came out in that whistleblowing incident with Facebook was, and I think we see a parallel to the tobacco industry, don't we? So the tobacco industry knew that smoking caused cancer, and then they either suppressed that knowledge that they had, or they produced huge amounts of research that said that there was no correlation, as we've seen with the sugar industry, big pharma, food produce, all of these different large groups of organizations. And of course, what Facebook want is they want to get you, and Facebook being a metaphor for any one of these networks, once you're on the network, they want to keep you interacting with the content, and they want to keep you on there with the app open for as long as they possibly can, so they can advertise more to you, because advertising is their primary revenue stream.
In the West, not in China.
Yeah, and then they want to, and they're prepared to do that at any cost. And I think it's the at any cost that is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. In terms of keeping all this data on you, on your swipes and what you're looking at, and dwell time and face biometrics and all of that, and storing this data. Now, I probably should be more interested in all of this, and I know that there are people who are dead against it, and people who don't care, and people who are supporting all of this. What's the general consensus around this room about data about you? More and more and more of it being stored, not just for advertising sake, but maybe for more Machiavellian means, political means, and stuff like that.
I don't think that there's any way to get around that. I think the genie's out of the bottle now, isn't it? Because there is some stuff that, your medical records, for example, that maybe you don't want made public. You might not want them made public because it might limit your ability to get a job or get life insurance or travel or whatever it might be. But as databases inevitably become more unified, particularly national ones, so HM Passport Office, the police, the fire service, HM Revenue and Customs, all of those all want to get a single holistic view of you, in order that they can work out if you're paying appropriate tax, if you're a criminal, if all of these things, and I think the unification of those is inevitable. I mean, obviously, the challenge that we have is that you've then got some idiot politician that leaves a laptop with 1 million people's data on it on the train, and then that falls into those Machiavellian hands.
Because I don't know if the audience knows, but there's been certain startups where what they were doing was, you basically load your data onto the database. The assumption is similar to Adam's, which is the genie's out the bottle. So what you do is you let a provider have your data, and then you sell that. So you're in control, rather than Facebook basically taking your data and profiteering from the data that they're selling.
And I think that's, in the end, that's what it's going to come down to: the extent to which individuals control and manage their own data and their own information. And I think as more people get understand that, I mean, the interesting thing to me about what just happened with Facebook and what's currently happening with respect to their being dragged through Congress and other committees in the U.S. With respect to the whistleblower, et cetera, is that Congress and these gentlemen, the congressmen and senators and people that are actually doing the interviewing, actually know what they're talking about now. 5-6 years ago, when you listen to these guys, they didn't know what the heck an algorithm was, much less that it did something good, bad, or otherwise. Some of them didn't know what Twitter was at the time. I mean, we've now come to the point of sophistication with respect to these platforms that most people do understand that. When you think that Facebook has 2.8 billion active users, holy shit.
And some of them are even real.
Think about that. Add the George Orwellian thing to that. Think about how much China's got in control with their version of Facebook and how they manage their system. Now think what Facebook has.
So but one of the things, Eric said something interesting the other day in an internal meeting about how we look at Facebook, which is that we see it as our own. And when if you go up to the average person, when they talk about Facebook, it's their Facebook. And it's their community, the thing about the fact that Facebook went down was that they were disconnected from their community, because that's how they talked about various subjects. I'm a member of a couple of Facebook groups where I will discuss things with other people in the evening, and the same with other people. I think that's a really important feeling, that the fact it's
gone.
out. Yeah,
and it's gone.
And it's gone. And it's that, and we never had that with the telephone. There was a certain amount of, we can pick up the phone but there is this real sense of just as much as friends and family, they're also this community that is out there, with the godchildren in Australia or the grandchildren in Canada and stuff, but we all bring it together. I think that's quite a different way that
and that's the plus side of this particular coin, isn't it? The fact that particularly during times of COVID and such, like when you can't go and meet people, you can have a gathering of all of your friends discussing something in real time around the world, and it makes you feel much more connected to those people. Mark Zuckerberg's, we want to make the world a more open and connected place. The challenge, though, is that what you said, Tim, about the app scanning your face and looking at your dwell time on things, and this idea that we get these micro decisions that people make and behaviors that they can't hide, almost like NLP type analysis of somebody. So if you were to take the 2.8 billion people that look into their phone and make decisions and their eyes move around the screen, and you were to cross-reference that against people that were murderers or child molesters or something like that, and you were to see that there was a very strong correlation between behavior A and crime B, how long before we get to a minority report situation where I can see that you're looking at this particular ad and you're dwelling on this for that long, and those are exactly the behaviors of somebody that will go on to rob a bank or to murder somebody. Therefore, I'll arrest you in advance of that because I know you're going to commit that crime. It's only a matter of time.
Ooh. Ooh. Now you're talking.
It's a great film, Minority Report, isn't it?
It's a thought crime, isn't it? It's the whole Orwellian thing, as Thomas said. But I think that the flip side of that is that, and so often we hear about the damage to the mental health of people that are addicted to conversations and meeting this impossible standard that they set themselves as a result of social media. We hear a lot about that because that's quite an easy, in quotes, thing to measure. What we don't hear a lot about is all of those people that are prisoners in their own houses or have been for the last year and are now connected to a bunch of people, some of whom they've never met in the flesh, are connected to a bunch of people sharing ideas. Like you, Tim, I'm a member of Facebook groups. I'm a member of groups about guitars and music and cars and stuff like that. And these are people that I've got a really good relationship with. We have a really good, frank, open debate about what we like and what we don't like. And it's exactly the sort of thing that you might have done in the pub a few years ago. So I think there's a very strong upside for this as well.
So there was a person on YouTube that had a YouTube channel, and what they decided to do was the guy got his partner to basically shoot him
with the book.
And what they did was that because they were trying to get viewers, so he basically put a copy of the Bible against his chest and said, "Shoot me," and she killed him. Adam was actually asked to go onto the BBC to discuss this. And they said, "So what do you think?" And he said, "Well, there's always been stupid people, hasn't there? Just because there's social media, these people were probably going to do something stupid anyway." It's not actually the fact that it's YouTube; it's the fact that they were stupid. And I agree with that.
Mm. Well, it's going to lead to something, and I don't mean this isn't controversial for controversial sake, and I want to be very measured in what I'm going to say. But I've seen a lot of people recently. It's last week we spoke about the misuse of control that these supposed influencers have over people by messing with their messing with their lives. You know, all these people looking up to these supposed influencers who know how, for instance, LinkedIn works, and they start messing with people by sending out funny memes and just. So I've noticed there's a bit of a.
Answer that, will you?
Hello?
Mum.
Hello? Yeah,
Hello,
yeah.
Mum.
I'm on LinkedIn Live.
Hello, Mum. No, he's not. No, he's not here, mate. No.
Yeah, it's rubbish. It's rubbish.
It's rubbish. Yeah.
I've noticed that there's a trend at the moment. I want to be very measured. My point here is that it's sensationalist, right? So I've noticed a few posts recently where so-called influencers have said it's important to take time away from social media and don't let it, you know, sort of like if you've got mental health issues and all that, you need to be away from social media and get away as far as you can for as long as you need. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. Now, I fundamentally disagree with that. I fundamentally disagree with that, because if you're getting to this stage, and this is what we say to all of our clients, is that Brandon on the phone? Yeah, exactly. Let me in. If you're getting to the stage where something's going that wrong in your life because you're putting that amount of time into it, that amount of effort, that amount of stress and all of that, it is going to have an impact on you. So what we say to all of our clients is your social media and your presence on social media is important to you. If you want to go away, that's fine. But realize when you go away, you're going to be losing that visibility. You're going to be losing that presence, that ability to connect with your influencers, amplifiers, your prospects, your potential clients, your potential recruits, investors, directors, whatever it might be. That all goes with you when you go. So by all means, go away, or apply some other thought to this. Take control. This is about taking control. Lots of people allow things to take control of their lives. I like red wine. If I let red wine take control of me, I've got a problem. Yep. I've got a problem. If I let social media take control of me, I've got a problem. I like rugby. If I spend 24/7 watching rugby, I'll probably lose my wife, lose my career, I'll lose everything. It's about measure and control.
Yeah.
So if we get to that perspective where we're in control with social media, then it's a different story. It doesn't take over our lives, and we don't have to go away and say, I need to get off social media for a long time, because we understand what we're there for, we understand what we're doing, and we've got a process. And we use that process every day, and we get the benefits from it, and we get the riches from it. And it's all in balance, and it's all in balance with the rest of our life.
And the great thing about social media is you are in control, because you can control who you're connected to, who you're friends with, who you message. And if you don't like those people ever, you can block them or you don't talk to them. You are totally in control of your destiny.
Yeah, and I think that there's an opportunity for people to get a better, healthier relationship with this. You know, if I message you being any one of the three of you at 7 o'clock in the morning or at 11 o'clock at night, I'll probably get an answer within 2 minutes, because you've always got your phone there, but you've got the phone there in exactly the same way as, you know, I've got a landline next to my desk. Now, obviously, I didn't answer that particular call, but normally I will answer the call. And, you know, if I'm awake, I'm happy to answer the call. If someone sends a message, I'm happy to look at the message. That doesn't mean I necessarily am going to action it straight away. But I think that part of this is about forming that healthy relationship with social and indeed with your work as well. You know,
I think we missed the point, though. This is all true, and I agree with all of it. But the reason that Facebook is being dragged across the Congress floor is because of the impact it's having on adolescents and on people that don't have the maturity yet to basically make the decisions you've just all correctly stated we need to make. And that's where the challenge is, and that's where the issues are. And I do think there needs to be mechanisms put in place to help manage that. And I think that is in dire need of consideration.
No question. That part was aimed at business people who are running social. So yeah, but I completely agree. There's a whole other story to that with adolescents.
But we've always been in a situation here in the UK where you can buy Vogue magazine, you can buy Marie Claire, you can buy Cosmopolitan. They're available on mid-shelf magazines, and they offer a lifestyle and they offer a view of about what your body should look like, and they've done that for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, we you know, how long is Cosmo and that, you know, so we've had those. So this isn't a social media thing. We've had these things for years.
Well, social media
about controlling Vogue and Marie Claire.
Yeah, but the big thing about social media and the way we like it and the why it works so well for business, because you get to do things at scale. So you take Cosmo and you do it at scale. And that's the challenge, Tim. So I mean, I get your point. It's true. It's been there for an awful long time in different forms, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be managed and better regulated. And if Facebook falls into that,
but isn't this an education issue? I mean, I think it's all very well to say, well, this is the fault of the social media platform. So what do? Do you limit the age range so you can't go on it until you're 18? Or do you limit the amount of time that people can go on it? And, you know, if you logged in for more than X hours a day, it automatically logs you out. I think ultimately this is dealing with this is like dealing with so many other social interactions. It's part of your education. And, you know, schools should be teaching kids that, you know, this is part of your life. You are not going to be able to get away from Instagram and Facebook. So what you need to do is you need to understand what is healthy and what isn't. So, you know, it's okay for you to go, you know, you and your red wine, Eric, it's okay for you to have a glass of red wine. It's okay for you to have 2 glasses of red wine. Some days it's okay for you to have a whole bottle of red wine. But if you have a whole bottle of red wine every single day before lunch, that is not a healthy place to be. And in fact, it is the same thing as the red wine that was the 1 glass twice a week. And it's the same thing. And it's the same with social. You know, kids need to understand that they need to have interaction with their network, because they need to do that. They need to have a personal brand. Otherwise, they're not valuable to themselves, to society, to their career. They need to have one-to-one interactions, because simply talking to your audience through a post and then not engaging one-to-one with those people is missing the very purpose of being social. And they need to have those interactions one-to-one with people, both through Messenger and through FaceTime, be it either on Zoom like this or on in a real environment. And blending those together is really important, isn't it? Because this isn't going to go away.
No, not at all. And I liked Mike's earlier comment right up at the top of the screen. There is some beauty from an adult perspective. I'm completely with Thomas on the fact that there's a massive issue with adolescents getting themselves into trouble. But from a business perspective, that understanding is the first step to the understanding what this means, what it's for, the application of it, etc., is the first step towards complete control of this. Where, because we find, I mean, Thomas once said here, and it just rings it. I actually used it in a presentation the other day, Thomas, for the first time, and I credited you. My colleague Thomas said, "We don't give $5 haircuts, we repair them," right? And I love that. I absolutely love that. I love it. I just think it's beautiful, right? But that whole thing about, you know, we go into a call with a client, and there's just that tension in their face because they've spent the money. Again, it happened this week again. A client who's wasted money and sacked a social media trainer on week 3 of a program because it was just a disaster. A charlatan who'd gone in there. Yeah, we're going to teach you all about social media. And one of the last statements was, chuck out a video on Friday. I hear it's quite successful at the moment. Chuck out a video. Just put a video out. How? Why? What? And what are you talking about? Just make a video. It'll be great. Catch you guys next week.
Great leadership and mentoring.
Yeah, that's gonna leap right back to an EBITDA improvement, isn't it?
Yeah,
company changing stuff.
Adam said something has said it many times that there's lots of people out there that are willing to exploit your ignorance in social media.
Oh yeah, totally. So that what Mike said there, understanding, belief, some sense of control, and applying it on your terms. Give me $1 for every LinkedIn coach, and I can retire.
Give you $1 for every good LinkedIn coach, and you'd be in exactly the same position as you're in now.
Yeah.
Let me tie this all together.
Go on.
It's just a random thought. But many of the corporate leaders that we speak to still think that social media is for pictures of your lunch. And that's one of the barriers. That's one of the things that we have to help them overcome. And this current situation with Facebook is a continuum of that issue, because that's how they see social media. And as you've rightly put, Eric, and as we've all rightly put, social media is much more than that. And when it's used in its proper context in a way that's impactful, it's incredibly effective. And you need to be able to separate that out, right? And then deal with those issues, whether it's a parental issue or an educational issue with adolescents, is different than what we do and how we leverage and communicate and create these social interactions online that better everybody's lives and their business worlds. That's it.
Beautiful.
He's done it again. He's done it again.
I probably couldn't.
He's done it again. It's phenomenal. And there's 10 minutes to go. Should have left it for another 9 minutes.
At the end. What are we going to do for 10 minutes?
Anybody know any jokes? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
There's the bloke that went that got drunk, wasn't it? And then he fell asleep, and then he ended up joining his own search party. So there's that one.
That's absolutely true. In Turkey, a guy got rip-roaring drunk, fell asleep in the forest, was missing for a long time, woke up in the morning, and there was lots of people walking through the forest. So he joined the search party. And realized after about half an hour that they were shouting his name, and he'd been shouting his name. And then someone shouted his full name. He said, "That's me." And he's been in the search party for half an hour. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Nearly news, you could call that.
Yeah.
Nearly news. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, outstanding. So what are we gonna conclude with, gentlemen? Because this was just a sort of skirt around the houses with a very current topical issue about Facebook, Instagram, the power of it. I guess we'll never understand the true inner workings of the inner sanctum, but it's with all of us, right?
Well, I think, one of the other bigger questions that continues to come out of this, and we're all dealing with it in our own worlds, is the use of AI and where it's impactful and how it's going to be used in the future, and the extent to which we begin to today, because it's still in its infancy, right? Add the very thoughts and thinking that we're talking about with Facebook and everything else, control. So what are we going to manage? What are we going to use? Why are we going to do it that way? And what do we want to avoid? Rather than just running into the mix of it and accepting everything and finding out later, holy crap, we shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I had a meeting with a business leader this week, and he said, "Yeah, we want you to come in and tell us all about the algorithm." And I said, "Why?" I said, "You don't need to know anything about the algorithm." I said, well, if you're doing the right things, everything else just falls into place. And you could see that when he said, "I want you to tell about the algorithm," I mean, he was terrified. He was going to have to. The LinkedIn required you to go in and somehow learn about this algorithm to use it. It's like, no, you just have to do. You followed our methodology. You do this. You do this. You do this. You will get this result. And you don't need to worry about the algorithm or anything like that. But it was terrified. You could see in his face, poor little lamb.
Poor little lamb. And just one word. Most people will know this anyway. It's actually becoming one of my favorite social media platforms. You put up something in our Slack channel the other day, Tim, from Scott Galloway, who had charted the progress of the major social media sites and how long it took them to get to 1 billion users. Facebook was 9 years, Instagram was 8 years, YouTube was 8 years, TikTok 5.
Wow.
So I was approached by 2 social networks this week. In 2 days, 2 new social networks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Guild, and the other one is mediaspace.global.
Right. It's got a ring to it.
Yeah. Just rolls off the tongue.
Rolls off the tongue.
Two niche or niche social media platforms in 2 days.
Wow. Not encouraged to bring out Tim Talk.
You've been waiting a long time to say that, haven't you?
I know, exactly.
.com.
Timtalk.com. Yeah. What were these are new social media sites that have got a particular bent on. You were approached to become a member.
Yeah. Where one of them was, I think someone is getting an affiliate by getting people to sign up.
Right.
The other one, what they approached me directly on LinkedIn and said, "We want you to actually come and, you know." But so I mean, they're both of them are saying that that LinkedIn is a noisy place. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a niche or a niche. I'm assuming media spaces for media people.
Wow. Good luck to them, eh? Wow.
Well, I mean, it's very
Awesome.
difficult when you've already got a market leader to become even, you know, second or third.
Yeah, and also why, you know, so you get invited to join a new social network that is effectively in competition with one of the existing ones, because the advantage of being the only person on a social network is like being the only person in the world with a telephone, isn't it? Which is like it's utterly valueless. And you know, I think that the reality is that the reason that sites like LinkedIn, big sites that have got a cross section of people on them, are so effective is that it's like if you go into a LinkedIn group full of people that are social experts or design experts or management. The problem is they're all saying the same things and they're all selling to each other and nobody's buying because they already know what the stuff is. Whereas when you go into the wider community, some of the way that you phrase things resonates with people and they become customers of yours, you hope. But that only happens when you've got a big universe. Why would you want to go to a universe of 1,000 people when you can be in a universe of 100 million people? You know, so I think that now it's extremely difficult for any new entrant to come into the market.
I would think so.
TikTok is a relatively new thing, but it's doing something which is very different from any of the other social networks. It's more like Snapchat than another kind of network, isn't it? But, you know, video, yeah, I mean, there's only one player. And, well, yes, you know, there are other options. Well, of course there are other options. But ultimately, YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the internet. So if you want to have your video content found, it needs to be on YouTube. If you want to have a B2B conversation, it needs to be on LinkedIn. If you want to have a personal conversation, Facebook seems like the most appropriate place. And all of the kind of second players that cater to that niche are, you know, they're like Etsy, aren't they? You know, kind of quite nice for low value things. And that is deliberately damning with faint praise.
Yeah, I mean, you only have so much time that you're going to give to social media. And there has to be a real reason why you're going to use A rather than B. And suddenly, you know, I mean, what with media space, I mean, that when you set up a profile, you've got two choices. You either get an email every day or you don't have an email at all. So I just decided not to have an email at all, because why would I want to I don't need any more email.
Do you not?
It's like, I do not need an email from you every day. I really don't.
Well, that goes that business strategy then.
Damn it all to hell.
And I think sometimes a lot of these niche social media platforms are usually because they're doing something else. So Procurious, the procurement one, it's an events company. And they do this. They do the social network as kind of, well, we kind of need one, don't we, to get people together and form a community. And then what we'll do is we'll run an event, because that's where we make our money. And a lot of these things are, you know, I've already been. So would you like to come? Would you like to come to an event? No. Why would I do that? I can talk to 750 million people on LinkedIn every day.
You know, I got asked a question the other day, which I thought was really interesting. I got asked by somebody whether or not we thought, and I thought, Zoom was a social media channel, because they were spending 7-8 hours a day on Zoom talking to all these different people. Is Zoom a social media channel?
Well, my very first meeting with a prospect way back in the day when I first got into this was with a guy who said, we're all over social. We're a complete social selling company. And I said, and I got to chat to him and I said, how do you mean? He said, every single aspect of what we do is done on Zoom. We're a social company. Like, I think we need to have a deep conversation, old chap. Yeah.
And full circle, therein lies the challenge. Leaders do not know what social media is. They don't understand it. They're scared of it. They're afraid of it. They don't know what it is. They don't know how to use it. And therefore, it doesn't happen in their organizations. And that is as much the challenge today as it was 2 years ago.
I'm very sorry, gentlemen. I need to drop as I have a client waiting for me on one of those Zoom social network calls.
Type things. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody, for all the comments and the questions.
Ta-ta.
Thank you.